record on this computer.
Says, got it, got it. You're being recorded. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
you are being recorded.
Well,
I see you tried to get in early, and I thought, well, Nick is he's a surfer, morning riser,
well,
on control.
I'm not I'm not a tech guy. I'm really pretty poor with tech, so if I don't start early, I might not make it. So I have to allow myself plenty of time.
Uh-huh.
So you're not working for the NSA, are you?
No, 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 I am retired. How's that?
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I've been retired now for 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've been just concentrating on what I want to do. So I've been, as you know, I love to meditate, love to do my exercises, take walks, be in nature. I love to
Perfect.
write. My our poetry. You were in our poetry class, Mrs. Topalian, right? In
No, I
senior year.
wasn't in that one.
Oh, you weren't. Okay. Okay.
I was in English with Mrs. Condon or
Okay.
Miss
Oh
Condon,
yeah. I had her too. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and she was really good. She was one of those teachers that encouraged me, to express myself, and so she was one of those fundamental good teachers that we had that was really helpful.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I have a thing that is I just finished it. I do somewhat of a trilogy of my life and the journeys and people that I met. And so I talked about 200 and actually 450 people that I know, all around the world. And she was one of those top mentors. Do you remember the time uh uh what's his name? Johnny Hines, brought Jimi Hendrix all over the Watchtower, and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
played that song. Well, at that time, to be honest, I like Hendrix, but there's a part of me, you know, hard rock and roll sometimes just didn't make any sense. But that song, boy, when I heard that, it sends shivers up and down my spine. So what I've been doing recently on Facebook, I go through my entire life and I do music, that for that time. So when
Hmm.
I did a story for Mrs. Condom, I put all over the Watchtower. I told that story, and then for you, I put in the Allman Brothers, Eat a Peach,
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Great.
I remember you really like that. So I went through all my music memories from the people that I met who turned me on to a lot of different music.
Well, that was a really pretty much of a to me it was a really golden age of of music. There was so much diversity in the bands, and they all got played. I remember on FM they all got played, and Bill Graham was putting those concerts together uh, at the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West, and he would have all these really eclectic combinations of bands, and he exposed young people to a lot of music that they normally would have never heard without him introducing the broader society and the youth to them. He was really a pretty influential as far as the music scene goes back then.
Oh yeah, and we have a personal. Was it Gilbert Barnes? What? Oh no, a guy named Scott Sumner. Or yeah, you didn't know him. He grew up in our neighborhood, and he moved to Laguna in seventh grade. So by then you didn't know him, and but he worked for a Bill Graham for about 5 or 6 years. He
Oh,
was
wow.
responsible for the beginning of the act, the setup all the way to the shutdown. So that was his role was so when the concerts, they had to do the stage and all that, and the sound system and all the tests. He was responsible. So
Well, and from what I understand, that Bill Graham was a was a perfectionist. So you if you had that job and you kept that job, you had to be good.
yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
Because Bill Graham didn't suffer fools. He did not. He was but the people, that the musicians loved him because he didn't pay much, but he gave them such great exposure for that time. And he was no nonsense, and so they all really respected Bill Graham. And I think that guy, what's your acquaintance's name?
Scott Sumner. His dad was the Supreme Court Justice in Orange County.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Well, he'd be an interesting interview.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We were supposed to interview about 6 months ago, and then 10 minutes before he had to bail out because he was working on a project, and something happened. So yeah, I'm gonna get him. He had a liver transplant. He had a drinking problem, so his liver got affected, and he got a transplant. But since then, the guy's talking about him. He every year now for the last 3 or 4 years he swims that in the Alcatraz race from San Francisco, swimming on water to Alcatraz.
Wow.
So he lives in Laguna Beach and swims every day. Yeah, he was a fellow surfer, and he was on the swim team, and so I knew a lot of his friends.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, if you have that interview, I'd like let me know, because I'd love to see it.
Yeah, definitely will.
I'm sure he has some some stories.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. And this was the prime time in the 70s. This is when he was a young kid, probably he's our age, maybe a year older.
Not
a
much.
year older. Yeah.
How old are you now? When's your birthday?
I'll be
You're
70 on Christmas Eve.
This year?
Yeah.
Well, you're older than me.
Yep. I was born 52, December 24th.
Okay, so you're about a month older than I am. I was born in February of 53.
Oh, 53. Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we're almost exactly the same age. Close.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we were in the same grade.
Well, my mom held me back.
Okay.
Because she knew that we weren't, it's better, she thought, which I agreed, to be the older than younger. For somehow, that age difference, especially in grade school, 1 year, I mean, even a couple of months kind of makes all the difference in the world.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that, because I always thought I benefited from being one of the older of my grade. And like you said, I mean, at those young ages, I mean, a year is like the development happens so fast.
Yeah.
It could make a big difference. Yeah.
I told my brother I was interviewing you again, and he was really pleased, because he said, even back then, even when we knew Nick, let's say like in ninth grade, he says that guy knew how to think. You could see when he was thinking, there was John didn't call it smoke, but you definitely were a critical thinker, a positive thinker, thinking about, just thinking outside the box. I guess that's a good way of putting it. Thinking outside the box. You definitely had that trait ever since I've known you. I don't think a lot of people maybe know it, because you kind of how do I say it? I won't call it shelter, but a lot of people really aren't interested, I guess. How's that? People aren't.
You're not what?
People aren't interested. People, let's say, are only interested in just in everyday life affairs and anything outside the box.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much nuance in most people's thinking. Uh, especially now. I mean, when we were sick, Ann and I were sick, so I haven't watched much TV at all in many, many years. And so I watched some football games and uh, and then they'd have the advertisements, for different products or movies or whatever. And I'm thinking, who are these people that they're directing their advertising to? Because it's like child level of it's being directed like a childlike to a childlike mind, you know. And I was thinking, is this working? Could this possibly be working on people? And if so, man, that's not a very good reflection on our broader society. It's really not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, have you seen like all the movies and the entertainment? They're all like superheroes, cartoon figures, like the Marvel comic characters. And it's just like a bombardment of special effects. It's such a departure from the real world. It seems like cartoonish, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's if it's actually effective in working on people, it's like not a very good reflection on our society. It's really not.
Oh, not. Yeah.
Do you ever watch TV or watch any of that stuff?
Well, all the only stuff that I watch is stuff my wife likes the Hallmark channels. We
Yeah.
kind of she likes that because it's not heavy. It's uh intricate relationships.
Hmm.
The relationships that people go through. I like that. I like seeing people's the challenges in life and they overcome them. Of course, the plot's pretty simple. You know how it's going to end, but even still, I don't watch any violent movies at all ever. It just
No, me neither.
yeah, it's just
No, I don't need any of the, I don't need any to like download any of that imagery into my mind.
exactly. Yeah.
It's
There's a thing, it's called mind movies. And what mind movies is, imagine we watch our commercials. So 95% of the commercial goes into your subconscious without you even knowing about it. So a mind movie is like a commercial, but get this, it's only positive things, affirmations that go into your subconscious. So it's basically it's a a commercial that's rewiring your brain to be a better human being.
well, I certainly haven't seen that programming
Yeah,
because
yeah. No, yeah.
all the stuff that all the stuff that I see is basically, um, I've been studying uh, the media and geopolitics and all these types of things in the financial system for years and years and years, and the media just basically is there to drive ideas into people's minds, and it's called psychic driving. And if they repeat something, a message or information over and over again enough times, but people accept it as reality,
Yep,
and
yep. Oh, yeah.
they
Oh,
also they also
yeah.
have they also have predictive programming where they'll put programming on that that sort of softens you up for maybe geopolitical events that the powers that shouldn't be are hatching out, and but they get people's minds in more of a mood to accept things, or more of a militaristic police state um, environment, for your own good, of course, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I find the media for the most part is very subversive, and it's not healthy to really pay much attention to it if you if it's not your job, you know. Uh, I think most of it's really negative as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. Not
And it's
99%.
divisive. It wants
Yeah.
people divided. It wants you fighting and disagreeing with your own neighbors and angry at your
Mm,
fellow man, instead of the people that are, you know, devaluing our currency and ripping everybody off that way. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
they want to redirect people's anger, you know, laterally instead of looking up at what's really causing big problems. So that's the way I see the media.
Yeah, yeah. I'll send you the book I wrote. It's called Pandora's Box, which goes
Good.
into detail about this is about social media in general of how they get you totally addicted. They know they're getting you addicted. They're doing it on purpose. They
Of
hire
course.
these whiz kids right out of Stanford, and Stanford has courses on social addiction, how to get the people who are into media like Facebook and all those kind of stuff, Twitter, how to get them more addicted. So it's yeah. Uh,
I think it, what it's doing, I was thinking about this as it relates to, you know, growing up when we did in Newport Beach, and how we didn't have access to any of that stuff, you
no, we
know.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, right.
And, you know, our reality was more about, you know, engaging in the natural world and having fun and finding fun in, you know, simple things about engaging in the natural world, which would be, you know, first you start body surfing, and then, you know, you're riding your bike around and exploring, and you know, you're making friends, and maybe some of them, like Tom Newmeyer's got a pool, and you go swimming in his pool. I mean, but it's just real sort of simple stuff that's really fun and healthy. And when I see young people now, I was down there in Newport Beach last year, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like a cartoon version of what it used to be,
Oh,
you know.
wow.
And all
Wow.
the young people are just like looking at their phones all the time, and they're immersed in this, you know, in their social media. And to me, they're missing out. Um, of course, it's a different world back then. I don't think I mean, you can't turn back the clock and recreate what it was when we were there. But I feel sort of bad for young people and what they're faced with all the attention to um, tech in media. I don't think it's
Yeah,
healthy.
exactly. And that even goes, for which we're gonna, talk about the spirit, the soul is surfing, especially in this modern day age, where um, that soul is kind of lost, you know.
I agree.
You
I
know,
completely agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, when when you have these kids, just like babes, imagine 8 to 10 years old, and their idols are professional surfers, and competition is the name of the game.
Right.
So you're in it for the wrong reason. You just think you can have the greatest ability of being a surfer, and if it's pure technical, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
There's a communication between you and the wave.
Yeah.
I wasn't a very good surfer, but I had that communication. you know
Well,
that that
that's what it's all about.
yeah,
That's really that's the greatest benefit of
yeah,
all.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm with you 100%. You know, I watched some of this event they had down with you know, the championship, you know, pro championship. They held it at Trestles,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and I could see all these young people, and they're like they're just like wild about these, they're heroes, you know, that are winning heats, or they win the contest, and they're rabid, you know. And it's like your focus is just, that's not really, it's not a healthy focus. I mean, you know, you uh, you're going to miss the whole point, like you said, if that is your focus from when you're very young. And that's what they do. They groom these kids from a very young age to adopt that mindset.
Oh
Is
wow.
like competition, surf competition is where it's at, you know. And you know, the 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 surfers that I like to watch now are like the women longboarders, because it's like they get it. They're they flow real
Yeah, they do.
nice.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Their
yeah.
styles are
Yeah.
really elegant, and
Uh-huh.
they're going for that clean flow, you know. And even if it's not a competition, you know, they film some of these women that are really good, and the men are still trying to be you know, kind of aggressive with the longboard surfing. It just doesn't look that great, you know, where they're trying to do roller coasters and they're bullshit twirly birds, you know, where the women are
Huh.
just, the women are just flowing, you know. And it's like, okay, these women get the whole, they're deriving the true benefit from
Mhm.
surf.
And there's
And
friendship in
and
and
the
out the water, right?
what's that?
They have friendship in and out the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're not hoping to, you know, to kill him. Yeah,
Mhm.
I want to kill that guy, you know. And it's like, okay, great, great, yeah, that's good. Um,
Yeah, that's been going on ever before and since Genghis Khan. Yeah, yeah. Well, in my writings, one of my major themes is war is obsolete. It's been obsolete for thousands of years, but uh, we're still dialed into that station, humanity.
I know. Well, yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. It's because it's not very many people. It's a very small minority of people that are able to pull the levers and get the masses, you know, like I talked about the media earlier, get the masses worked up about things that really have nothing to do with their own lives,
Yeah, yeah,
and willing to support causes that actually are detrimental to their lives, but they're promoted as good, you know, and the propaganda works on people. But it's really a small handful of people that handle the levers of power, that they're so maniacal that they just can't leave people alone, and
yeah, yeah.
they can't ever get enough
Mhm.
of riches or power. And you know, if we could get rid of those people, you know, if they would just die off or go away, I think most people could sort things out just fine.
Yeah, I wrote a book called Conscious Politics, and it's kind of the premises is, I admit, simple, but here's my premises. If you have a kind politician, you'll have kind laws. If you have kind laws, then it will benefit all people, regardless of who they are. So for me, kindness, is totally missing in our politics. Basically, you have a division between the right and the left. None of them in the '60s, at least, let's say they would fight during the day, and then at the end of the night, they would all go to a bar, and they would sit at a table, and they would raise their glasses, and they would cheer, and all that animosity was out the door.
Right.
They know, okay, well, we had our fight, and now, we're sitting down, and we'll let bygones be bygones. That's how much, I think, don't you think politics, it has to come from that place of kindness inside in order for good laws, that help all, to come into fruition. I know
Well, sure.
maybe it's too simple, but the way I look at it, if someone's not kind, don't vote them in. Don't vote for them. Imagine if we had a nation where people said, "Hey, you're greedy. You can't listen to the other side. You can't discriminate. You only go along party lines. Out you go." So that's where I think we need discrimination. And we also need compromise. Compromise is a huge word to the
Yeah.
world, especially when it comes to politics.
Hmm.
Your society won't go very far if you can't compromise. We're seeing that today. Right?
Well, yeah, and I think that I think we're on the verge of some major collapse, actually, of the political and societal and money system all at once. I think they're all sort of they're all coming unglued because you see the signs everywhere. Uh, Everything's getting more expensive. Wages, the wages of the average person can't keep up with the rising prices. Young people, how can any young people afford to buy a home now?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you disenfranchise more and more and more of the population to where they don't really feel like they have a stake, I think you're going to get a collapsing system, and which I don't think is necessarily going to be a bad thing. I think it really has to completely kind of crumble to be rebuilt. I don't think it can be reformed from within at this point. So it's going to
it's
be
kind
a
of like
hard. Go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead.
I think it's going to be a hardship. I think we're going to have a big major depression, and a lot of businesses and institutions will fail. I think the educational system needs to be revamped. Medical system probably needs to be revamped. Governmental systems need to be, restructured, because all the incentives are for they're all perverse incentives. People are incentivized to do the wrong thing instead of the right thing now.
Yeah, yeah,
And as long as those incentives exist, as long as the money's still worth, people accept the money and get rich by being bribed by the currency, they're going to continue to do what they do. But if the currency becomes worthless, then everything grinds to a halt, and we got to rework everything. And I think that people will actually want to have a more equitable, fair-minded system. They would want to build that, because
mhm.
a dishonest, predatory system doesn't work.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. that's what my definition of what you're saying, that for me is like recalibration. I used to work
Yeah.
an observatory, and when you have scientific instruments, they have to be recalibrated. Otherwise, let's say you want something to go to the moon, but if an instrument isn't functioning properly, you're going to miss your mark.
Yep.
And yeah, and I thought COVID, initially, because I wrote about COVID even before it started. My intuition is, wow, this is going to be a doozy. Mother Nature is going to tell us, the entire world, to go to your rooms and start thinking about, what you're doing. I only worked for about a month, and now business as usual. But I don't think we learned our lesson. I
I think it has to be a harsher. It has to be a harsher lesson
yeah.
before
Unfortunately,
people snap out of it.
yeah, I know, yeah. It's sad.
Yeah, but but that's how life is. It's cyclical. It's just like saying dying is sad. Well, it is sad, but it's part of the process. It's part of the cycle. And I think our societal state is in uh, it's terminal.
Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
terminal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, terminal.
Well, have you been down? When was the last time you were in Newport Beach?
Oh gosh, must have been about 5 years ago, I guess.
Okay, well, that's not long ago. Not
Uh,
that long ago. Yeah, I was there last year and I couldn't believe my eyes. It's like it's another. It's just sort of shows the distortions that the system, the money system has created in society. And Newport Beach is a great illustration of the imbalance between the haves and the have-nots.
yeah, yeah.
Where it's like they can't stop building these structures, like where they used to sit amongst the bluffs and hillsides. Now they're just like bulging out. They just bulge out from every crevice and nook and cranny. And it's like you can't even see the land anymore from all the giant buildings. What they've done with the properties, if they own property that goes down the hill, they build all the way down the hill. It's like,
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Everybody's house is giant, and pretentious. And, like you go down Kings Road and it looks like you're going down the Las Vegas Strip. Like one house looks like the Sphinx, and one house looks like the circus, and the next house looks like antebellum South. And I mean, they're all crammed next to each other. They look fucking ridiculous,
and
And it's
half an
just,
hour away in Santa Ana, remember Chris Dahl? I don't know if you remember him.
sure, I
Yeah,
do.
Chris Dahl, he works for the Orange County Register, and I talk to him twice a year. And one time, must have been about a year ago, when he was looking out the window, and it was I think it must have been the Santa Ana, the river, Santa Ana River, and at that time, he said, "I'm looking out my window, and there's 10,000 homeless people living here outside of his window in 10 cities."
Yeah.
So that whole, like that the Highway 5 corridor, from all the way from Seattle to Portland to even to Ashland, has got hit seriously. Um, Venice Beach, that all those places are just inundated with homeless people.
I know.
Ah, and then you go to Newport Beach and party on.
Yeah. And it's in the entitlement attitudes, I thought I had to get some like some groovy visa, show how groovy I was to even be there, and because it was the attitude is like the entitlement attitude is like it even like permeates the structures. It comes off the structures. It's
Oh
so
my
thick,
gosh. So, yeah.
and the people all have their Newport Beach uniforms on. All the bimbos have their Newport uniforms, and then the children all ride their e-bikes, and they ride them in packs, and they don't stop at any stop signs. It's like if you're going down the street and there's a pack of them they'll just cut right off in front of you, and it's your job to stop, because they live there, man. They live in the heights, and so you better,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know.
God.
But
Oh my
it's
God.
weird because it's like the parents enable this kind of crap,
Yeah. Yeah.
It was strange. It was really strange. And you can't park down in Newport on the peninsula anywhere. There's just meters everywhere now.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, if you go to Newport Beach, you're paying money wherever
Wow.
you go.
Yeah. Oh God. Wow.
It's a different world.
To that, I wrote a thing called "Buck the System." And basically, I said, my brother and we always bucked the system. We were non-conformists. He said, I had a few friends, I didn't mention names. I said, but they also had the same attitude, buck the system. What the system is presented us is a way of life that's not reality. It's a false
Totally
way
agree.
of
100%.
living.
Yep.
So uh, yeah, that's kind of ironic that here today, we're having this conversation where both of us bucked the system, and we did it intentionally. We did it consciously.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could have been, if you wanted to, one of the probably the greatest surfers, maybe in California, if you wanted to, if you had a high ego, And granted, in the '70s, surfers didn't have that potential as they did today, Now,
Yeah, but
but
who's to say I wasn't?
oh, yeah, exactly. That's a good
So
one.
it's only a matter of publicity, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, your surfing was years ahead of there's a few people that I knew I would put it in that category. I would put, for a longboarder, David Nueva, that
Yeah,
that the cat on the water.
sure.
Junior Beck, was another
Yep,
one for
no
a
doubt.
longboarder.
Yep.
I love, for Goofy Foot, I love uh, Lenny Foster, you know. Now, John Van Orden, your friend, I only saw him surf, I think, once or twice. But I heard he was phenomenal. Brad McCall, he was another one who I
Yeah.
definitely admire. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, but I think it's kind of best that way, not to be known.
Was for me.
Yeah,
Was for
yeah.
me.
Just think you can go.
Because Rick, there's several years where, you know, uh, I'd go anywhere I would go out. It didn't matter where I paddled out, anywhere, Hawaii, Northern California, Baja, it doesn't matter, any place. And, I'd be the best surfer in the water. And so you get a lot of attention, and it comes with the territory, you know. But once I was on land, I didn't have an identity. like these other guys that everybody knew who they were. So I would just like blend right back into the woodwork and,
Yeah.
and disappear. You know, you all, if you're surfing that well, then you always get attention. You always get attention, and it's flattering, and it's nice. You know, I've got an ego. I like to do well out and do as well as I could just for my own sake. But
Yeah.
but I didn't need that added baggage of having to be that guy everywhere I went. You know, I was a nobody, and I liked it that way.
Yeah. Lately, you know, as you know, I like taking a look at different approaches to life, and so I kind of took a look at the Tao, the Te Ching, you know, Lao Tzu, and that's his whole thing is that you can give him all the money in the world, or just being a simple, poor, humble person, and he just says, I would choose in less than a second that simple poor person, because then that simple poor person can own all the internal money in the world, because you're in harmony with nature and the universe. You pay attention to nature and the universe, it will start paying attention to you. If you pay attention to our riches, like Alexander the Great, uh, he died on his deathbed saying, I came into this world empty handed, and now I'm leaving the world empty handed.
Wow.
You know, after
Yeah.
all his conquests and conquerors, you know, he came to that realization, you know.
Well, and these things are especially in today's world, you know, it's like uh, with people's attention spans and the way people get turned over and discarded, you know, people in the media and uh, whatever sports figures there might be. Okay, we'll just take surfers for example. I mean, okay, you won the contest, but now it's the next day. It's That's done. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's done. It's done. So that was yesterday. You can't keep yesterday. Yesterday's gone.
Mhm.
And and it's it's really a pernicious system that will easily discard any of the heroes of the moment and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
move on
Yeah.
to the next one. They're just commodities. They're just
Mhm.
commodities, and they have, when their shelf life is over, they get
They got thrown out.
thrown out.
Yeah.
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 And you know, uh, and to me, those types of I never thought that competition really applied very well to surfing to begin with. I never thought it fit right,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
completely subjective, and it's also up to the
Judges. You
whims
judge.
of the judges, the whims of the ocean, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so to me, I have never been swayed by competition insofar as the surfers that I think were really at the top of the heap, you know,
Mhm.
in my view, and influential. And some were just never got much publicity. Guys like Scott Price.
Oh yeah, Scott Price. Oh yeah, he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
He was a hero to me. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought he was like he was showing the Southern California uh, surfers what Wayne Lynch was doing in Australia.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how he was surfing. And our
And,
own, our own Lee Pope was a
oh, Lee Pope. Oh,
phenomenal,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
just such a stylish,
Mhm.
elegant surfer and
And Phil
class.
McLaughlin for a knee rider, right?
Oh, those guys were, yeah, I surfed a lot with those guys.
Uh,
Yeah, a
was it and
lot.
Doug Snyder? Was it Doug Snyder?
Doug Schneider, yeah, him and PR were really good,
Mhm.
really good. They had Greek made them those spoons, those Greeno spoons.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I mean, when we went to the ranch, I went to the ranch with Doug the first time. And, I was getting there. I wasn't very good at that time, but I was good enough to drop in and get in the tube at rights and lefts because you didn't have to be that good to do that there because the plate was so perfect.
Oh,
Um, but Doug, he could hang, with the Santa Barbara County Surf Club would show up. He could he could just take off deeper than any of them.
mhm.
Ride the barrel, and on that spoon, he was the star of the show.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Mhm.
Yeah, it was impressive.
I only saw him surf just a few times, but I was impressed from at 22nd Street in Newport on a decent day. And he was doing radical stuff at that time.
Yeah, well, they were super influenced by Greeno. They had some type of connection with Greeno. I mean, Greeno was lived up in Santa Barbara at the time,
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
and I think I don't know if you remember this guy or not, Charlie Coffey.
Name
That name
sounds
sounds
familiar.
familiar.
Yeah.
He was a friend of Lee Pope, and somehow they had a connection with Greeno to where they could go up there and surf with Greeno or see Greeno's designs. So there was a connection between Greeno and some of the guys in Newport.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Some of the
Yeah.
board builders.
Uh-huh.
Scott Price, I think, was friends with Greeno. So they were heavily influenced by George Greeno because he
Yeah,
was still
Scott
riding his
Price,
spoon.
right? And his camera, the waterproof camera is one of the very first ones, I think, wasn't it? I remember
Yes.
yeah, and I
Yep.
think that was influenced by Greeno.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
They were like disciples. And
yeah.
and so yeah, there was a strong connection between those guys. And so we, secondhand, we got a lot of influence, from Greeno and his approach and the radical surfing he was doing. And it's like, well, we try to do that on a surfboard. That was the whole idea. And
Mhm. Yeah.
but it was a neat time because we had some really good, talented board builders in Newport that were just garage guys. Um, Dave Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He
Oh,
ended
that's
up
right. Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
progress. He still has progressive surfboards up in Santa Barbara and Goleta.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah, still doing that. Yeah.
And I have a close old friend that got a house up in Santa Barbara. I said, "Hey, Brian, um, go into the progressive shop and tell Dave, you're friends with Nick Roth, and he'll get a kick out of it." And he went in there and shot the shit with him, and I guess they had a nice talk, and my friend Brian ended up getting a custom board from Dave Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So he still, he always had nice boards. He always made good boards. Jeff Kennard was a really talented
Oh, Kennard.
shaper.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Really, I rode some of his boards for a while. I tried to talk him into keep making my boards, but he got tired of it.
Mhm.
And I
And
wish
you
he
had
would have.
Jeff Tamponi, right? You had Tamponi.
Timponi, that was later. That's when
Okay.
I got sort of recruited into surfing for Russell.
Uh-huh.
But I rode John Ashton. Remember John Ashton?
Oh, yeah, I remember him. Yeah, yeah.
He made really good surfboards
Oh,
too.
wow. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. But we had some really talented, progressive, sharp designers
Mhm.
especially for such a young age
Yeah.
in,
Wow.
in Newport, and a lot of really good surfers.
Mhm. Yeah, it's kind of, and most of them, I would say, were soul surfers. They they did it because of the pure love of it, of the love of the ocean, love of the sea. No other reason. It wasn't to get famous. It wasn't to win a competition. That they set their ego aside. Um,
Yep.
in the water, it was kind of like it was a friendly attitude. People would talk to them. It's not like today. That's my wave. You can't take that. Um, I
Well,
guess it's
it was kind of neighborly, it was kind of neighborly because you'd go to different spots and you'd know, like, oh, I'd go down to River Jetty and I'd see like Mark Rasmussen would be down there with what was his buddy's name? Steve something.
oh yeah, I knew you were talking
Remember
about.
Steve?
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of a
yeah.
shorter guy.
Oh, Steve Hudson.
Steve Hudson.
Steve Hudson. Yeah. Okay.
But they were
And
you'd go down there and it was the Shores guys.
yeah, yeah.
The Shores guys. And you'd go, hey, what's happening? Mark or Steve or, and the other guys that would live down there. And you'd go to different streets and there'd be the guys that would be hanging at these streets. So it was kind of cool because you'd see different people from different, your different classmates, and nobody would be bent out of shape to see it. It was like, hey, how's it going? And it really was a friendly vibe, I thought, back in Newport back in that day. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
great.
yeah. So probably that competition that Eagles started in that article in the 80s where they talked about you, but then they talked about with the Danny Kwok, the whole
Oh yeah. Yeah.
commercialization of surfing. Do you think that's where, well, maybe I'm sure it started before, but that was kind of like at the forefront. Commercialism is coming to your local area, Newport Beach.
Well, we're we're getting close to the end of our session. I would like to continue this
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
because because that's really that's an interesting part of the scene, um, where it changed from the 70s. And I think you started traveling what year? In the 70s, the mid 70s you
71,
started
right
traveling.
after high school. Yeah.
Okay. I stayed.
Mhm.
I stayed. The surf scene stayed relatively stable until mid 70s. It started to change. And then, pro surfing started in 76. And then the focus of all the media, surf media, shifted. And then towards the late 70s, we started getting, well, we had the boards change. And so there was like twin fins, and then thrusters came in. And that really kind of democratized the surfers to where those boards were easy to surf compared to the single fins. So
Okay.
in the single fin era, you had to be perfect to surf well. Your timing had to be perfect. You couldn't execute a really clean off the lip, or especially a really clean roundhouse cutback. unless your timing was perfect. Your wave selection was perfect.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you'd dig a rail, or you'd look kind of clunky too far out on the shoulder. So when those multi fins came in, all of a sudden, guys that weren't as good could look pretty good in surfing. So all of a sudden, there was like a big onslaught of guys that looked better in the water.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it changed everything, because the amount of guys that were getting attention there was a lot more. And also the leashes came in at that time, around the mid 70s. And that was another death blow
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
to the experience, because you could get guys falling off left and right, and they wouldn't have to swim in, So
Mhm.
they're always there in the lineup. But yeah, that period is really interesting in that there's a group of guys, that Danny Kwok and Jeff Parker and uh, a bunch of them, Jeff Parker, who else? Preston Murray was a young guy that was pretty good, and but they all started wearing really flashy wetsuits and having really colorful boards and calling up photographers to film them. And the shift became less about surfing and more about gaining publicity. And the surfing culture really changed at that time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, 'cause when you say in the 60s and 70s, almost like surfer was almost like an outcast culture.
Yeah,
and
it was.
in terms of society. Uh, if you were a surfer that consisted, they thought about you as being someone who's radical, thought outside the box, nonconformist, was more interested in surfing than anything in life. It was all, it was how do I say it? It was your life. Surfing
Yeah,
was your life. Yeah,
completely.
yeah,
And it didn't have anything to do with publicity.
yeah, right, yeah,
Publicity,
yeah.
if publicity, if you got something, if somebody took your picture, fine. That's not why you're doing it, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, and you didn't get any bonus points in society as a whole for being a surfer. Most people thought you were just like wasting time.
Yeah, right.
You were
Yeah,
a flake. It was you're just trying to avoid work. You know, I had speaking of thinking outside the box. Well, I found out what the box looked like, because my dad owned a machine shop in Norwalk, and that box was a hell box, where you go in there, work 10 hours a day in a dark, smoky stinking machine shop, where you're making parts, you're making the same part over and over again for 10 hours.
wow. Oh,
And it's like it's all dark, and you look outside and you see the sun's out, it's blowing offshore, the swells up, and it's like there was a couple days I was up there, and I'm like, I'm going to walk all the way home from Whittier. I hate this.
mhm.
And so I knew that wasn't going to be in my future, not after experiencing being out and surfing and having a
Uh-huh.
chance to go up to the ranch and experiencing that. It's like, no, uh, I'm choosing door number 2.
Yeah.
So it was an easy call because, at that point, you really is stark. It's like, oh, so this is what life's going to be like for the next 40 years. This is
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It was, it's such, was such a no brainer to me,
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, do I want to be in this smoky box or do I want to be out in the ocean?
Uh-huh. And what I call it, I think you might, it's maybe a different definition, but it's called, have your feet on the ground and your head in heaven. And what I mean by that, you knew that you could not go in a situation like that, have your feet on your ground, and you could not be, it was going against every single grain of your being to work in that kind of environment. Just for the mere
Yeah.
sake of getting a few bucks so you can pay your bills. Yeah, yeah. You and I rebelled about that from day one. Money is important. Yeah, I admit that
Yeah.
money is important.
Sure.
You
Yep.
need money, to buy things. Uh, but I have no, if someone wanted to give me a mansion, to be honest, I have no desire for a mansion. I just it's not it's not. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I have no desire for a mansion.
Well, I'm with you. You could give me an expensive house in Newport Beach and I wouldn't take it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wouldn't do it
yeah,
because I'd have to be there. I
yeah,
don't want to be there.
yeah,
That's sort of always been our sort of mindset, is we're just gonna do our own thing and let the chips fall where they may, right?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. And the older I get, I think you probably have the same kind of feeling. I really don't get too excited if good things happen to me. I smile, I laugh. If bad things happen to me, I smile and I laugh because I know curveballs will always be thrown your way. You can't
Yeah.
control anything in life. There is people in Newport. What would happen if the stock market crashed, it tanked, and you lost all your money? Where would your state of mind be? Where I'm kind of taking a look at, on that the teeter totter of life. It really doesn't matter the external events that happen. It's the way we process those events will make us happy or not.
Right.
Is how we process it. If we try to control life, well, life will try to control you. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right, because a lot of those people they'd be lost, and their whole life's meaning would be down the drain, and that shows it really doesn't mean much at all. Didn't mean much in the first place. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So yeah, I don't envy them. I don't envy that that societal mindset. It's not for me. Never has been.
yeah.
But anyway, well, I think we're going to be coming up on an hour.
Okay.
So maybe we should continue this. Do another session maybe
Yeah,
next
yeah,
week
yeah,
or
yeah.
so.
Definitely. Yeah, always,
Because
always.
I'd like to expand on this, on my experience, because I stayed there in Newport, and what happened, the changes, and the commerciality, and how everything changed. Um, I think it's kind of an interesting story, and it hasn't been told from my perspective. It's been told from the perspective of the people that thought it was wonderful, and
Mhm.
that's not my attitude.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would love to do that because to be honest, I had no idea. I mean, exactly what occurred because as you know, I was kind of out of the picture for about 15 years. When I did my travels around the world, I hardly ever came back to Newport until the 80s. I lived there for 2 years in the 86 and 87. So that transformation that occurred from the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I would definitely love to hear it from you. Yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of but it's just reflective as a society as a whole. It's just a microcosm of the society as a whole and how it shifted.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and the values and you know, what people found to be important. And
Mhm,
I don't know, it left me cold.
mhm. Yeah, well, what I'm trying to do here is have imagine 300 years from now, and Richard Fletcher will be kind of known as a historian who interviews people who thought outside the box, who are
I like that.
nonconformists. So that's kind of like what I kind of want to be able to do is have a different viewpoint, than what is established today. What many people because there's millions of people like you and I who have the same viewpoints. They're just not heard.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so,
I agree.
so that's what I'm trying to tie together, kind of like the thread, that common thread that ties us all together. Yeah. So, uh, and what better way, is by talking to people who live through that. And yeah, I I love to hear people's stories, especially your story, because I've known you since seventh grade.
I know it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. If conversation flows easy, just like it always has. And
Uh-huh.
you give
Yeah.
my best to your brother, and maybe we could just, if you want to just do this, finalize it next week. If that's all right with you.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. And
Because I
someday
didn't,
I want to say hi to your lovely wife. I met her once at the door when the Lakers were playing in the World Championships. John and I stumbled. We knocked on your door,
yeah.
and Pat Hubble, and you were watching the game, and your wife opened the door. So that was the first time and last time I saw her, just for a fraction of a second.
Well, I'll bring her on next week. She could say hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So, you just want to plan on 3 o'clock, same time, same channel?
Well, I don't. I think Wednesday. How's Tuesday for you?
Fine.
Okay, okay, yeah, we'll do Tuesday. And so you're feeling a lot
Yeah,
better. Look, seems like you're doing a lot better.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from watching all that TV now.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It was traumatic.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I learned more than I wanted to.
Yeah. Really. I think,
Anyway,
therefore, I'm
yeah.
confused.
Anyways, great talk with you, Rick.
Okay, you too.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
look forward to hooking up next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
take care.
Take care. You too.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.